My name is Ashli Ognelodh. Today is March 24th, 2023, and it is 6:16.
Okay, so welcome, Ashley. I am just so grateful and just humble to be in your presence. Just your spirit since the first day I met you have been so open and just welcoming. And I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Like it's just in this day alone, it's been a long time getting here, but I thank you for being here. So, I want to just start with one where just a little bit about you, your accomplishments, and then I'm go into flowing about how you got started in this art space because you create like beautiful, amazing work, like some of the most amazing work I've ever seen in my life. Like it's crazy. So we're gonna go into that, and then we're gonna kind of go into like the message behind your pieces, and I do want to kind of get into like some of your story and how you even got here to this point and what it looked like to redeem and restore yourself. Okay. And so let's get started. Just tell us a little bit about you. Like, where are you from?
I am from Atlanta, Georgia. Really Atlanta, not like Decatur or
Not
anything
Atlanta.
like that. I'm really from Atlanta. I'm an anomaly, I'm sure. Born and raised there. I've traveled and been other places, but Atlanta is home. I've been an artist pretty much all my life. I actually got started in art when I was like 5 or 6 because I couldn't trace. And I was just like, if I can't trace it, I guess I'm going to have to just draw it, which is probably a testament to my character now. I just go. I just do stuff.
Always on go.
Yeah, just always. It's like, I'm that person. Who says you can't do that? Right. And, just be doing 50 million things and you can do them, but, you look all deteriorated after everything's said and done. So yeah, I've been a full-time artist for about 12, 13 years now. Wow. It wasn't something I initially geared towards, not professionally. I never like said when I was little that I want to be an artist, but it was interesting. I was one of those children that like wrote on the walls and stuff, and I never got in trouble for it, like ever.
Really?
Ever.
My mama would have
and no, mama, and I always asked my mom that because my mom, like I was like, she was like, it just didn't feel like it wasn't giving whooping.
It wasn't getting rebellious.
Yeah, and it was crazy because I remember like for a while we stayed at my grandmother's house and she had like these like yellow walls, and I remember like taking a red crayon and just like drawing on this one specific corner, and I never got in trouble for it. And the running joke is like, see, what would have happened if I got popped for that? Would we be here? You know, now I get paid to draw walls.
I know, so, right? Get to the bag. Get to it.
So yeah. So
wow. So I actually did not know that you started that young drawing and stuff like that. So when did it stop being like a hobby and was like, oh, that's really a gift. Let me capitalize off of this.
So that thought never came to mind, actually. So like I said before, I didn't grow up wanting to be an artist. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a college professor. That was my dream.
What were you going to teach?
Art. I wanted to teach. So I wanted to teach art. Never wanted to pursue it as a career. Number one, I didn't see anyone doing that looked like me. Didn't think it was a real job or possibility to do that. And it just wasn't on my mind to do. As a matter of fact, like even in pursuing it now, it amazes me that God allowed this. And I look at like how it was the Holy Spirit who led me to do this. Because at the time, before I started pursuing it full time, I was working at the Bank of America, and I was actually doing really well. I was about to be promoted to a personal banker, like about to live just my best soft girl life. And back in those days, a 1-bedroom apartment was like $375. I know I just aged myself. That's fine. Talk to you, man. Don't talk to me. But I remember being in church one day, and I remember just sitting. This is the church, Victory Church that I went to in Atlanta, and I've been going there for years. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting kind of in the front row, and he was talking about are the mountains you face bigger than God's vision for you? And I will never forget that, because right after that, God came in and was just like, what would you do if I told you to quit your job and pursue art? And so I was like, oh no.
It was a huge decision.
Pick somebody else.
Yeah.
Pick somebody else. And it was not an immediate no, especially because my life was comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like when I say I was living completely on my own, I was finishing school. Wow. Like I was able to afford a nice, comfortable lifestyle for myself at a very young age. Wow. Even at the time, and I remember, like, I was in position to purchase a home. Like, it was that sort of thing, because I made the money to do so. I had the credit to do so. It's that thing of where it's like, why would I disrupt my life for something that doesn't even make sense to me? But God was very persistent, and he was so annoying, and he would not leave me alone. And finally, I remember saying, like, and I was so silly. I didn't even ask God, like, what does it need to look like? Or, you know, I was just like, can you just have my parents be on board? I didn't ask for nothing else. And I was like, I need them to understand this. Because my dad's an electrical engineer. My mom's an accountant. So they like, girl, what? Like,
you need stability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need 401k.
Exactly. Like all of that. And I remember going to them, and my mom was just like, you know what? If the Lord told you to do it, you don't have anything to lose. You don't have any kids. You don't have any. This is the time to do that if you were going to do it. My dad was like, "You're black, ma'am. No." Which, you know, in hindsight is really crazy, because my dad was very supportive of me as an artist. I mean, like, I remember he used to buy me the best art supplies. I mean, like nice easels, nice paint, like the good stuff that I use professionally as an artist now. And I was,
but he really was like supporting.
That's so like, what do you mean? Like, you've been doing the work all this time. I mean,
so what was it about going full time that he didn't like?
I mean, with anything, the lack of stability and the lack, it's not a traditional job, and it's not anything that, especially the Black community knows about. Even now, art is this world that no one understands, or they don't even see how you can generate an income, how you can monetize. Like, they don't know. But there's not much education about it.
Like, being a full-time artist, you have became acclimated to Baton Rouge. Coming from Atlanta, like, I'm seeing your work in the community, even with passing like a board or passing a school, or we see your work all the time, and so it's amazing to see your stamp in Baton Rouge. Like, like I felt that, like, you are really leaving your mark here. No matter like where you go after this, like,
I appreciate it.
Like, you're leaving your mark, and I feel that. Like, even when you're not painting, just serving the community. And I kind of wanted to get into like the Present Fest. Okay, like you. First off, you're already an entrepreneur. You have your consulting business, right? You want to talk a little bit about that and kind of segue to Present Fest?
Yeah, so with consulting, companies hire me to actually like facilitate their programming. So art exhibitions, art shows, conferences, they literally have me come on site and manage how it's going to function, how it's going to thrive, hiring staff to make sure those programs are executed properly. And so I travel and do that with multiple organizations. And I love it. It's the structure part. I like organization. Now, my car would say otherwise. But
like, girl, stop doing this to
me. But in everything else, I love, just really structured, organized environment, especially when it comes to art.
Really?
I do.
So, like, it's not just, okay, I just want to paint today.
Oh, no, it is like that. Okay. So from the creative side, yes, but art is not just about creativity, it's a business. And that's the component that a lot of people forget. it's structured just the same as any other business. And so I love that part, and I love the educational component in terms of educating artists. Like, understand you're not just a person, you're a brand, you're a brick and mortar. And just like a building has needs, you have needs as an entity. And I need you to look at yourself as such, and present yourself that way as well.
So I kind of see that, Sam, you were saying like artists, like a business, you have to see yourself as an entity and stuff like that. But when you took that chance of going full time, you took a chance at investing into yourself.
I'm gonna be honest, no. Whoa. And what I mean by that, it was literally all God. That so. And look, we can go back to that. So when I said yes to God, it wasn't because He just said pursue art. He never told me in what capacity I would be doing it. I didn't even ask. That's how crazy I was. I didn't ask for anything except my parents. And it was a sacrifice. I quit my job. And the thing was, I originally was trying to get fired so I could collect unemployment. And I was doing stuff, not stealing. Okay,
but okay, I'm gonna miss this deadline.
Yeah, just like I would show up late, or And I remember there was a moment my drawer was like short $2,000. And I was like, yes, this is the moment. I'm about to get fired. I'm about to collect unemployment. I kid you not, I'm walking to the back, and the Holy Spirit is like, you are not going to get fired. I need you to quit because I need you to understand what I need you to do.
Wow.
And I went to the back with my manager, and she's like, yeah, we found the money, so it's all good. And I was just like, well, this is like my third, fourth time, because you can only get so many write-ups every quarter. I said, we on the quarter. Like, she's like, we're just not gonna worry about it. Like, don't even worry about it. And it was in that moment where the next day I was like, I would like to put in my notice to quit. And I remember understanding why God needed me to do that, because He really needed me to understand the concept of obedience. He really needed me to understand the concept of hearing what He said the first time and standing in that and obeying that, because that has been the tone for everything that I've done since then.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, that's why I tell people, if God said go, I just go. Like, I don't question what He wants to do, because He's already set the tone beforehand, but He's also conditioned me since 21 to, I hate to say it, not ask questions, but just do what's said. So I say all that to say that mentality has transitioned to Presence Fest. I did not initially want to do Presence Fest because it's very laborious work, and it's even difficult for me, even more difficult because I'm not from here. I love Louisiana, I do, but you're not let in here. You have to earn in here, and you have to do the work, and you have to show up, and you have to be present. Yep. And so, but God, I remember last year I went to God and I was just like, as a creative, I don't have spaces where I can create and simultaneously worship you with other people, because the art world can be so separate that way. Like, I have other artists that I can create with, but they're typically not believers. And they sometimes get a little turned off. I can tell, I can see it, I can feel it with what I'm talking about, because a lot of people have horrible experiences when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to the church. But then when I go to church, I don't meet a lot of people that know about art. Yeah. The first thing they say, oh, that's cool. And then they just kind of walk away.
Leave it at that.
Yeah. And I remember going to God and I was like, can you find me a space where I can just do both for just one night? And the Holy Spirit was like, it's not available, but if you create it, they'll come.
Like, listen, sometimes you have to create your own lane, or God's going to create that lane for you. There's just the perfect space for you.
Yeah.
And so I think you came at the right moment. God don't do nothing for no reason. You came at the exact moment that you was needed.
Yeah.
And I feel like through your work, through your spirit, you're gonna find that other artists are gonna come out the woodworks like, I found my person. I found my tribe. Because maybe people want to explore God in a way.
Yeah.
But maybe you're the only God that people will ever see. through your art. My first time ever experiencing your art. Well, I met you at a project that we were doing at a school. Okay, and so you were helping with the mural process and just like the beautification of that school, which was amazing, and they loved it. Like the kids loved it, so they're waiting on part 2. But after that, you invited me to what was it?
It was an artist showcase.
It was an artist showcase on my birthday, November 18th. And that was my first time I ever seen art in that way. Like I was brought to tears to see God so forthcoming in your work. I felt the spirit of God on your work. Like, and it's I'm not getting emotional. I'm not getting emotional behind this camera. But I'm telling you, you are in this space for a reason. And it's to bring people closer to God in a space where may not be as much representation. You are that. God needs you there. So get comfortable. You about to be a trailblazer for the rest of them. And you about to create a space that is much needed. Can we kind of segue into like what we have here?
Yes. So this is a piece titled "God Never Wastes the Hurt." And a lot of my art comes just from my personal experiences. Because what a lot of people don't understand, that in relation with God, it's a real relationship. It's a relationship you got to exercise, and you have many places in which you're growing and developing. And so this one, actually, the concept came from when I was in the mental institution after I lost my son. And I remember one of the patients there, she was just trying to console me. And she was just like, God never wastes the hurt. He never wastes these moments. And I remember thinking at that moment, like, where we are currently, it can be painful, it can be horrible. But we don't see the beauty of what is to come from what we've experienced. Because all of our experiences are useful, good or bad. And we don't know what we can tell in our story that can help and assist with someone else. So it's this concept of this person that is currently, just in hurt, in pain, but also I believe tears are cleansing, and they're just silent prayers unto God. But little do they know that there is a beauty established that God has taken from what they've experienced, and it is growing into something that is fortifying, that is exhilarating, that is just beautiful. So that is that piece. And this one is one of my most recent pieces. It's called The Weight of It All, and it's WAIT. So the main scripture focus here is Isaiah 54, where God is just, at this point, he initially was like frustrated with the Israelites. And then in 54, he comes back and he's like redeeming them. And he's like, basically promising them things like, hey, I'm going to restore you. I'm going to redeem you, all of those things. And it's so beautiful to know that, like, in every process, God has not forgotten us, even when we feel like he's unavailable or we feel like he's silent. He's there. And it's just such a beautiful reminder. And so she kind of is wearing that draping because she's covered in that resolve of knowing that Christ is that for her. So.
Yeah, you kind of segued right into what I was going to talk about. First off, the fact that she's covered with the scriptures. One, this could easily be taken controversially.
Absolutely.
Something so sacred, the Bible is such a sacred piece, but you use it, but still like convey what the message through, like literally and figuratively, like being covered in the word, like what? Being assured that what I'm going through right now is only for a time.
Yeah.
like the weight, like it's only for a time.
Yeah.
That's good. What you want to add?
No, I was just gonna say. I remember when I first started taking the Bible scriptures out the Bible. He said he was like, there are people that cannot get the word in its traditional form, so we have to make it palatable for them. And I love the fact that people that are non-believers of experiences, and sometimes that book for them can be just this like stressful symbol. And so sing it this way, sing it in this like kind of pictorial with like all these colors and visuals, and puts it in a different perspective for understanding. So, but yeah, at first I was like, oh, absolutely not. This sounds like a one-way ticket to hell. I'm not doing it. I was like, I got enough going on. I did not.
I will not be shut from church. But wow, and I'm happy you did it. Like that's revolutionary. Like this. That ate you, God. You ate you ate that. But you were speaking on the message, Isaiah 54, and I kind of wanted to talk about that restoration process. You yourself been through a lot. That's part of the reason why I wanted to interview you, because to see the aftermath and the restoration that you've been through. Like I kind of wanted you to talk about the restoration.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I want to say majority of it started when I got divorced. Unfortunately, I was subject to an abusive relationship, and a lot of my work is geared towards women in terms of hoping women will see themselves the way that God does. Because it took me so long to see how valuable I am to Christ and to find my validation in that. And unfortunately, before finding my validation with God, I was subjecting myself to certain things. And so after my divorce, I started to lean in on God a bit more in terms of like just realizing that's where my dependency is. That's where my focus kind of needs to be. And so just kind of building that. And then there were other things that occurred. Me losing my son dying. Just realizing the weight of all of that and what I thought it took from me, but in actuality, what I actually gained from that experience. And if I'm being honest, if I, my son's name was Noah. I don't know if I would have been here if Noah had lived. And it was such a beautiful process, and it was such a beautiful moment in hindsight, and just with all the things I've learned, but also understanding what God had to do. A lot of times we think like God wants to do stuff and he is okay with things happening, but we don't realize that some things he really is doing for our benefit. And it hurts him to have to do it because he knows that it's going to hurt us because we can't see what he's actually doing in the long run because we're so short-term thinking as just human beings. So it's beautiful even understanding that I'm loved so much that I am chosen in spite of what I think is best for me to serve someone who always has my best interest at heart and is willing to make me upset temporarily because he knows in the long term what I need and what's for me. So it's that component that's just
wow. If you had the opportunity to go through life again, would you change anything?
There are things that I would change, absolutely, but my concern is would they lead me here now? Because, like for example, at 21, I lost my sister to lupus, and she was everything for me, and I still mourn her death. She's been gone now for about 12, 13 years. I would love for her to be here, but sometimes she is the reason why I keep pushing because she wanted this. That's even why I signed my name A. Ognelodh because her initials is A. Ognelodh. And so she's like, make sure you, when she's like, make sure you sign like that so people think it's me. I could sit up and say, would I marry my ex-husband? But I look at the deepening of my relationship with God from that experience. Mm-hmm. He was a fantastic artist. I learned so much from him. I call it my internship. You know, I learned so much in terms of how I view myself and how I see myself. When I think about losing my son in that experience, you know, I loved Noah and I was ready to be a mom at that time. But I look at the fact I don't think I would have been here. I don't think I would have been doing Presence Fest. There's just a lot of things that I would not have been equipped to do mentally or emotionally. So I don't know. That's the that's the biggest thing. Regretting doing this, no. It has its moments where I'm tired, but I appreciate God giving me the privilege and trusting me with this, because he could have trusted anyone, but he chose to trust me. So
that's good. Okay. Speak to your younger self, or you can imagine that you're speaking to a young girl that may be going through similar life experiences. Mm-hmm. What would you say to her?
I would say to her what God has always said to me: you're still here. And what you do or what you choose to do with your time here is your choice, but you're still here. I choose to live, and I choose to live according to how Christ wants me to live in that moment. It's all temporary. I think that's the biggest thing that even holds me together. Every moment of frustration, I realize this is a moment. It is not your life. It is all temporary. So just get through this moment, cry however you need to cry, grieve however you need to grieve, but it is temporary. I think that would be my biggest takeaway for everything. Or what I would tell myself or tell anyone. So.
All right, that's a wrap.